Hey everyone, this video is going to be a general guide for Lost Woods SRMs. I won't be going over any SRM in particular, or every SRM in particular. I'm just going to be going over a few key points and a few things to keep in mind when you're learning them. Okay, so I have up here the actor heap. This is I'm playing on BitStock right now, and this is a Lua script that Mr. Cheese wrote to show the actor heap as a bar on over the top of the screen. And this is going to be very helpful in visualizing exactly what's going on with all the actors, and with telling you exactly, like, you know, what kind of mistakes you can make and what kind of mistakes you can't make, and exactly what you can do to recover from them and stuff like that. So the first room in Lost Woods is very empty. There's not many actors in it. As you can see, if I scroll out, there's this huge range of free memory. That's what the red means. And all the green is actors or overlays that are loaded onto the heap already. So we have here all the way on the left, actor 0, which is player, that's Link. Link is always going to be loaded there. And then like N-Elf is also always going to be loaded there. But if we go into like another room, you'll see that more actors load. Right? And SKJ. I'm not sure exactly what that is. And then we also have, like, in the minigame room, we have a wonder item around here. And we have like rupees and stuff. So yeah, the thing with how actors work in this game and how they load in is they'll always load around what is already currently loaded. This is especially obvious in Lost Woods, and this is especially like easy to know in Lost Woods because of how the room transitions work. Like, both rooms are loaded at the same time, right? So obviously the new room can't just displace the actors that are here. It can't just push them to a different memory address so that these can load at the same memory address, right? The whole idea is that, sorry for the noise, the whole idea is that it's modular. Like, any actor can load anywhere, and once it's there, it can't move. Unless, like, you know, you unload it and then reload it. And like, let's say you put more actors here and you reload these actors, right? They're going to spawn in a slightly different place because they're loading around the actors from the previous room. And so if you spawn more actors in the previous room, these actors are going to load into a different spot in memory than where they normally would. So now I'm going to go over an example SRM. I'm going to go over quest status, and I'm going to talk to you about the actors that are spawning and despawning along the way and what's going on with the actor heap. So first we come into this room, and you'll see that, you know, the actors in this room are taking up a lot of the space that was there previously from this room. And you'll see that, like, obviously as I cross back and forth, the actors are always going to spawn in the same spot because the surrounding memory is the exact same. So there's no reason for them to spawn in a different spot. So the next step is going to be to drop 3 bomb chews. And you'll notice that these 3 blocks appeared here. This is the overlay and the bomb chews instances. And the first instance spawned right here in memory. And then the later 2 spawned up here because there was no space back here. And then we throw the boomerang and back walk to the room. Now you saw that the actors for this room load very early in the log, right? They load like around here in the log. So you only have to get here before the bomb chews explode and before you catch the boomerang, right? Because all that matters is that the actors in this room are in a particular order. Because it doesn't matter what's in this room. Like, the actors in this room are like very small. Like, there's this thing that loads, right? Whatever is loading here. Like, you see a little green bar going in and out. I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't matter. The point is that you just have to load the actors in this room before the actors that you spawned yourself, which is the bomb chews and the boomerang, deload or unload. Okay. And then the next step in quest status is to just go through this room transition. And so what's going to happen is the actors in this room are going to load in a particular order on the actor heap. Specifically, the owl is going to load into the hole here that was created by I think the boomerang like helped make this hole. Because we want the owl to spawn here instead of on top, right? Otherwise, since it's pretty big, it might spawn on top here and mess up where we want to put the fish, because the fish is the big idea. The fish is what we want to manipulate where it spawns in. So anyway, we move in, and the owl spawns in here, and then, or actually, this is not the owl. Whatever Nkuza is, I'm not sure exactly what it is. So the owl does spawn up here, that's okay. But whatever Nkuza is, spawns inside the hole, like in the memory hole here, right? And then like small stuff spawns here, and then we drop the fish, and since it's so big, it's gonna spawn up here. Right, the fish overlay is gonna spawn up here at this precise memory address because of the way that we've manipulated memory. And this is exactly what we want. I'm gonna go over it again. And I'm going to go over the hundo heap manip this time, where it assumes that the owl is not there. So you see how the actors spawn very early on in the log. So like I could just stand here, and it doesn't matter, as long as the actors from this room are loaded. Now the hundo heap manip, what it does is it shoots the boomerang here, and then it transitions again. And it spawns the bugs here, and then it drops the fish. It drops the shoe, and then it drops the fish. But what you might do by accident is spawn the boomerang and go into the wall. And you might think the heap manip is ruined because you messed up. But really, all you did was spawn this actor in. This actor right here. Right here, that tiny one, and boom, and boomerang. You just spawned it and then despawned it. You didn't do anything. You didn't change rooms, and so no actors spawned around that boomerang, and so nothing in the heap is actually messed up, right? Does that make sense? The boomerang just spawns in and out. Same with anything else. Same with the shoes. You can spawn and choose, and they'll just spawn in and out. As long as you don't cross room transitions while the shoes are loaded. And honestly, even if you do, let's say you do this by accident for some reason, instead of throwing the boomerang, and you cross the room transition, obviously now the actors in the next room are messed up, right? They're not loading where they're supposed to be. But that doesn't really matter, because the actors in the previous room are still here, right? Because when you're in the middle of the log like this, both rooms are loaded. So even if the bomb shoes explode, we can just come back, and all it does is unload the actors from the room that, you know, to the right, the owl room, as it's dubbed. So you can just try again, and it's gonna work just fine, and everything's gonna load into the exact proper place that it's meant to load. The only thing that you can't do is go all the way through, because then the actors from the previous room unload completely, and so when you load them in again, now they're gonna load in a different spot based on where, you know, the actors from the owl room were loaded, and so that's gonna mess you up really bad. When that happens, then you have to leave Lost Woods and try again, because there's not really any saving it, because it all depends on exactly how you messed up, right? So obviously there's not going to be, you know, a specific way to save it. So now hopefully you have a better idea of how you can mess up and how you can't mess up. Basically the gist is that you don't want to mess up and then unload the actors that are in the room that you're currently in. So like if you do this instead of throwing the boomerang, you're messed up. Like you can't really save this without reloading the room. But you know, like I said, if you just do this and you realize, oh crap, I messed up, you can just go back and do the right thing and then come back and it'll be okay. Even if you, let's say by accident, drop the fish instead of after dropping the shoes instead of dropping the boomerang, it's still okay. You can just pick up the fish. It doesn't matter if the shoes explode before or after the fish is picked up. But even if you do that, you can just come back through the boomerang, come here and drop the fish, and it'll allocate to the right place. And one thing to keep in mind that I didn't mention is the way that actors work in this game, that loading and unloading actors works in this game, is So let's say I drop the fish here. It's gonna load here, right? It's gonna load at this memory address. 801F A6AO, I believe. Sorry, A670. And then we're gonna leave the room and it's gonna unload, right? Like you see that the fish disappears. But the thing is that where that fish was in memory, the data that it wrote there when you spawned it in is still there. It's just waiting to be overwritten with new data. And that really is like the key to SRM, right? It's using that data that's still there after the fish despawns, or after anything despawns, you know, whatever you're SRMing. Using that data and overwriting it with something else, so that it reads that data when it's not supposed to be reading it. And the main reason you want to keep that in mind is because in all dungeons specifically, you use that leftover stale fish code for another SRM. Because that data stays in between scene changes. So like, for instance, you know, in all dungeons, you go from Lost Woods to Spirit Temple, and then you come back to Lost Woods. And Spirit Temple is so small, like the room that you load in is small. And so it never actually overwrites the stale fish code that's there. And so when you come back to Lost Woods, that fish code's still going to be there, and you use it for the next SRM. And that is something that a lot of people get tripped up on because they don't realize that you're using the leftover stale fish code from Age Change. Like that's the order. You do Age Change, then you go to Unloaded Spirit, and then you do Forwards Win on B SRM. So it's just important to keep in mind that you don't want to overwrite that stale fish code when you're doing these SRMs. Otherwise, you're going to have to reset the fish. You're going to have to load the fish in again so that you can do the SRM properly. So now I'm just going to go over some general knowledge stuff that you should know. After doing any heap manip, you're generally going to, you know, whatever you do, you're going to come here and you're going to have dropped the fish in here. And then you go and you drop your 2 chews. Nice. You drop your 2 chews in the first room. And I should mention that you want everything to be unloaded. Any actors that you spawn should be unloaded before you cross this room transition to go drop your 2 chews. So like some SRMs are going to call for dropping a chew right before dropping fish. And then, you know, after you drop the fish, you're going to want to book it here to go drop the 2 chews in this room. But if the chew is still going, you want to wait for it outside this log before crossing the load transition. And related to that point, you want to make sure that you're dropping the fish in the first half of the log. That is the minigame half of the log. In situations where you're going to go drop the 2 chews after. So that it despawns when you leave the log. There is one SRM, Magic SRM specifically, where you're going to want to drop the fish here. And this will make it so that it despawns when you go to collect the bush. Because in Magic SRM, you set the 2 chews first, and then you drop the fish. And so this is going to make the fish despawn here, but it wouldn't despawn if you go out this way. So just be aware of that. So anyway, once all the actors are cleared, you're just going to drop your 2 chews and make your way back. Again, just making sure to cross the load transition before the chews explode. To make a way over here. And usually you're going to be super sliding off this bush. And so you're going to have to break this bush. Now that's for most setups. Certain setups are going to have you super slide off this bush. But yeah, most are gonna be this one. So we're gonna be destroying this bush, and you want to pick it up to kill it. You don't want to stab it with a sword or anything, because you don't want the bugs underneath to appear. And then you're just gonna shield drop it. And you want to make sure that if any items come out of the bush, you collect them, because any items that drop are gonna be an extra actor on the heap. And so when you do your super slide off this bush to go into the next room, the actors in the next room are going to load around the item that falls from the bush. So just make sure that you collect it before proceeding to the next step. So I'm just going to do the quest status heap just so I have like a good demonstration here. So the quest status heap with the owl, I was actually wrong before. You do have to throw the boomerang like this, but you just drop the fish instead of going to the next room. So our fish has loaded. And we're going back and dropping our 2 chews, like usual. Then we're picking up the bush, and if anything comes out, we make sure to collect it. Here we didn't get anything that came out. And then we're going to do our 2 super slide. You can also do the super slide with a bomb. We're going to be super sliding off this bush right here that I'm bumping into. And the idea is that we need to cull it. And we accomplish that by having it be off camera while we do the super slide, and we do a down roll like this into the bush, and we do a super slide like that. And it'll be off camera by the time we get to the room that we're moving into, and that allows us to pick it up and use it as a quote-unquote sail reference. So again, Savestate has rhythm-based setups for both bomb chews and bombs that work really well for a lot of people. So I urge you to check those out. But honestly, just yellowing the position for bomb chews is not that hard. And you should definitely just try and do that if you can. What I like to do is kind of just face the corner, like stand in between these 2 bushes, like right in front of the corner one. Just face the corner and then turn around. And then like try to face the boulder a little bit. Like you want to be in this general vicinity of the angle. And then just pull your 2, brush up against the back grass, and then walk up just a little bit. It's honestly really not too precise. This is just kind of just what I do. And then right as soon as the super fast flashes start, like right before they start, just drop the chew, hold the ESS down, and press A. Not like that. So that was too late. It's gonna look like that. Press A to roll and mash it. It's not too tricky. And if you're really having trouble with it, then again, check out Savestate's rhythm-based tutorials for bomb chew and bomb super slides off that bush. So anyway, we have the reference in hand, and an important thing. Let me just get the angle for quest status real quick. 91A8. An important thing when you're going through this log is that you don't want to hold it straight up when you go through it, because if you see, I have Link's angle watch up here. Right now we're facing angle 91A8. You'll see that if you hold up, his angle is going to change to 91A6, and that's going to crash. Basically anything except the one specific angle that you need is going to crash, aside from like a specific exception with how the fish works. But like if you're like 1 or 2 units off, you're definitely going to crash. So make sure to not hold directly up. You need to be holding diagonally up like this. So he's doing a guano walk, as we call it. So you need to be doing a guano walk into the load zone, and you're going to wait until you cross the load sugar. And this is going to run the draw function for the bush, which is going to initiate the effect that we want from this SRM, because instead of running the draw function for the bush, we have lined it up with the data from the fish overlays code. The fish overlays code, and it's instead now manipulating data in save context, and it's manipulating our quest status data. So anyway, once we get to this point in the log, or at any point past it, you just want to shield drop the bush, just like that. And now what we can do is we're going to pick up this bush, and if I just show my quest status, we're going to pick up this bush, and this is going to be directly manipulating our quest status stuff. And this is going to be true with almost any SRM that you do. This bush that you can pick up is going to be manipulating the values at whatever part of save context you're manipulating with the fish. Sometimes that crashes, like with age change, because the only valid ages are 0 and 1, and if you pick up the bush, you're setting it to some random value depending on your angle, and it's gonna crash. So you can't do this with every SRM, but with most of them, you're gonna be doing this, and you're gonna be setting it to some random angle, you know, whichever is the best for your run. I don't know what it is for all dungeons, but for 100%, it's something like this. Something like this for 100%. And for every bush that you drop, every time you drop an invisible bush like that, you need to make sure that you're against the wall. Okay, so you saw how I got up against the log and then I shield dropped it? That's because when you drop a bush, it actually just rotates randomly on its way down if you don't drop it against the wall. So, like, you didn't see it, but it actually does rotate randomly. Okay. But if you drop it against a wall, it breaks instantly, and therefore it doesn't rotate randomly on the way down. And the same is true of the stale reference that you are holding, the invisible bush above your head. The same is true of that. So that's why you need to break it against a wall whenever you are, you know, breaking it. You know, in instances where you don't, obviously it's not going to matter. But make sure you're breaking it against a wall. It's a pretty common mistake for beginners to not do that. A couple last things I want to mention is that if you do mess up and you just end up breaking this bush somehow, like, let's say you do that, you mess up. What you do have to do is, one, collect every item that comes out of the bush, comes out of the bushes. And you can always just save this by going back to the first room and dropping the 2 bomb shoes again. And then you can just try the super slide again. So then the rupee came out, you want to collect that. And this is still gonna work. There. Let's see, this will still work. Just like that. Something else to be aware of is that you don't want to blow up this boulder by accident. If you do, you basically have to reset the run because that boulder has a permanent space on the heap. And so now whenever you load and reload Lost Woods or load and reload this room, memory is going to be arranged differently. So you basically cannot fix that unless you reset either to an earlier point in the run before you blew it up, or you'll just have to reset the run. Something else to watch out for is to make sure that you do not have Zelda's Lullaby but not Saria's Song. You know, maybe you're in GZ and you're just giving yourself all the items you need, or you're like doing a vanilla run and you're in some random story progress. If you're coming from title file, you should be okay, but otherwise, if you have ZL but not Saria's Song, what's going to happen is you're going to hear this fading in and out of the Saria song music because the game wants you to go see Saria. And there's actually an extra actor on the heap that's placed there when you're in this game story state to accomplish that fading in and out of the music. And so, you know, the extra actor is going to make the actors in this room spawn around it and therefore spawn in different memory arrangement than it normally would. And the same is true of the next room. So if things are not working for some reason, just double check that you don't have the music fade. And if you do, then all you need to do is give yourself Saria's Song or just go get it. And you should be okay. One last thing, make sure that you don't talk to the owl. If you ever talk to the owl, generally the run is dead. There's a kind of a rare case in 100% where if you talk to him on a specific SRM, you can generally save the run by doing a different heap setup on a later SRM, like basically the last SRM where the owl matters. And that is going to be the same adjustment that you actually do for the quest status heap manip in Hundo. Oh fuck. So here, let me get rid of him and then I will show you the adjustment that needs to be made. So right now in 100%, the quest status SRM does an adjustment for the owl for not being there. Where normally you would just boomerang and go into this room and drop the fish, what you now do is boomerang into this room and then spawn the bugs. If anything comes out of the bush again, you have to collect it. And then you go back into this room, you drop a bomb shoe, and then you drop your fish. So you see how the difference in the heap manip is simply spawning the bugs, spawning a bomb chew, and then dropping the fish, instead of just dropping the fish after going into the room. So this actually also works with age change. Wait, is the owl there? In this state? Okay, good. So this also works with exchange. Sorry about that. I forgot when I save stated on the practice run. So right now, normally you would drop the fish here. But what you actually want to do is spawn the bugs. Not like that. Spawn the bugs. You can use sword or you can use boomerang. It doesn't matter. Collect anything that comes out of the bush. Come back. Drop your bomb shoe. And then drop fish. And it's going to put it in the same place where it normally goes for exchange. 801F8F00. And it'll just show you that it works. Okay. Thank you. And this is the angle for exchange, and you'll see that I should get it. Yes, and I get it. I have to be really careful with exchange on emulator because it crashes often, but you see that this adjustment works for at least these two SRMs. I'm not sure if it works for any other ones. I haven't tested it, but again, the rare case for 100%, you can do that backup. And I will be covering that in my, 100% SRMs video, but I just wanted to mention it here. So that's basically everything I can think of that are beginner mistakes or less, explained things about Lost Woods SRMs that I think are important to know and important to cover. So if you have any questions, please feel free to join the OT Speedrunning Discord and ask. There are so many helpful people in there that will be willing to help you through whatever troubles you're having with this. Or leave a comment and I can try my best. But I really recommend joining the Discord because there are people much more knowledgeable than me that will be able to help you better. So yeah, thanks for watching and I hope this helps. Bye bye.